Right, we will talk about tutorial 5.2. Right, Sunset Financial Services. And the standard 5 is about diligence and reasonable basis, right? So it's about exercising diligence, independence, and thoroughness. Right, so this case, Sunset Financial Services is a broker-dealer, right? Historically sold mutual funds and insurance products to individual investors. So lately, the firm began selling private placements to clients as well. Okay, I'm sure you know what are private placements, right? So David, Vice President of Sunset, is responsible for conducting duty, right, on the private placement and placing them on a approved list that Sunset investment advisors can view on the firm's internal website. So basically, David, right, relies on third-party duty reports, right, to assess the viability and appropriateness of the product placements. So Gordon is one of Sunset's investment advisor, right? So Gordon, we are talking about Gordon and David, right? So Gordon is one of the advisors who reviews the internal list, right, and sells to the client, right? So Gordon does not create any sales material for this product placement, but instead relies on sponsor created sales material to give to clients. Right, so they are basically relying on material from other clients. Right, so David is using third-party duty. Right, so in here, the first point you must note is that you don't just simply quote from here, right? There's no evidence here that he is conducting any analysis himself, David. So he just relies on it, right, without conducting any analysis himself, right? There's nothing to indicate that he has ensured that these third-party duty reports are reliable, right? And so he doesn't say that he has taken any steps to ensure that these third-party duty reports have high quality, right? So there's no evidence that he has taken any steps to evaluate, the quality of these third-party duty reports, right? As for Gordon, he gave sponsor created sales materials, right? So Gordon also didn't provide any input. All right. Gordon is supposed to be one of the investment advisors, and he did not create anything, and he did not provide any input. All right. So Gordon, Gordon is relying on David, right? Gordon is relying on David as well, and also using other sponsor created material. Right. So now Gordon, right? He can assume that, right? He may assume that, David has vetted, these third-party duty reports. He can assume that, but then it seems that David hasn't done anything. Okay, right? So, right. So in this instance, right, the question is whether either of them has acted with diligence and reasonable basis. right? So it is still not clear whether they have actually violated. Okay. Right. So who wants their answer to be reviewed? Lo Huishen, you want your answer to be reviewed? Right, Lo Huishen. Okay, first part. Right. This one is next to useless because you're just stating the facts. You're just stating the facts. Right. This one, you're also just stating the facts. Right. It's useless. What I'm saying is that you must use the facts and comment on the facts. Right. You're not commenting. You're just reiterating. Right. This part is okay. This part is okay because you say, okay, now your opinion, right? But you don't know how to link the facts to your opinion, right? David should not rely on the evaluation of third party, unless you make, okay, may be suspicious. You shouldn't use the word suspicious, right? May not be reliable, right? It's different from suspicious. So Gordon is, now this is supposed to be a proper noun, sunset capital. Right, this is not cheating. He's not cheating. He does not create new sales material, doesn't mean he's cheating, right? It's just that he has no input, right? He has no input. So he should be stricter with the research. Yeah, stricter with the research in what sense? Right, yeah, okay, you say mention provide appropriate research to private equity, right? Right here you should use the word hence they violate. Right, this one you will get 60%. You will just barely pass. All right, you will just barely pass. I will review one more answer. Agnes Yeo, you want your answer to be reviewed? Right, Agnes Yeo, this is your answer. Right, there's something missing here, right? That we need, right? Right, and then you better use a conjunction here. You don't start a sentence like that. If this your sentence is hanging, right? Or you can put a semicolon, right? And support recommendation, blah, 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 right? So here you should use a conjunction. Right, so this part here, this part is very clumsy. Has a duty to do duty. Right? It's very ambiguous. I don't know what you're saying. Right? You are saying he can rely. Why? Why can he rely? Why can he rely? You didn't state the reason why he can rely. Why? Right? You were saying, are you sure this is because he made a reasonable and diligent effort? Are you sure? Now you look at the passage. Where in the passage? You tell me. Where in the passage? He has made a reasonable and diligent effort. Where? Where? Yeah, he is responsible for conducting. But did he? He is responsible for conducting. And now here he says he relies on third party duty. Where? So you don't have a basis here? Right. So on the contrary, is deemed inappropriate. This is because Gordon does not produce any sales material. Yeah, okay. Rely instead on, okay, this is good. This part is good. Right, this part is good. So Gordon can rely on the use of third party, but only if he makes. Yeah, okay. Very good. You are using a very safe statement, right? This part here, very good. Right. Okay, very good. Very safe statement, right? Had. Okay, good. This part is good. Right? This part is good. But this part is is no good. All right. Any question, Agnes? Agnes, any question? David. Well, I will show you the answer. I I will. It's not so clear cut whether he has violated, right? I right. I will go through two answers, right? So now, right. So this is my answer, right? So I just state this, right? So okay, now you see how I'm using the words from the passage to answer, right? I'm not just restating the facts in the case, right? You can see, right? I'm saying David, right, based his evaluation of this private placement on third-party duty reports without, right? So without, right? Yeah, you see the passage? He didn't do anything without conducting the analysis himself. So he's just relying on third-party duty. All right. Okay, you must do something like this, not just copy from the passage blindly, just like that. You must have some, you must put in some evaluation, right? So it may be, right? So you see how the words are used. It may be acceptable for David to rely on third-party due reports to evaluate investments, right? As long as, right, he do blah, 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 right? He takes steps to ensure those reports are from a, right? Okay, you see how safe my answer is? Okay, it is known, it is unknown, right? So now we don't know any, we don't know, right? It is unknown as to what steps David took to evaluate the quality, right, of this third-party duty provider, right? The quality we don't know, right? Right. So you can see how safe my statement is, right? If he did not undertake a critical evaluation of third-party duty of the duty provider, he may have violated. Okay, this is how you should be answering, because the fact stated in the case is insufficient to draw a conclusion. Right, so I'll come to Gordon now. Right, Gordon, right? Right, Gordon, right? Basically what he did was, you see, I'm not just restating, right? Yeah, this is the fact, right? Gordon gave sponsor created sales material to clients. This was in the case. All right, but this part here I added, right? This is my analysis without producing his own information, right? Without his own, without giving his own input, you can say that, right? Without giving his own input, right, on the product placements. So, right, you see how I use it, right? It may be acceptable for Gordon, right? It may be acceptable only, right, to rely on David to fulfill his responsibilities to conduct thorough due of potential client investments, right? So to rely, it may be acceptable to rely on David, all right? Right? You see how safe my words are? Gordon may, right, assume that investment listed on Sunset's approved product placement list have been thoroughly vetted, right? Now, he may assume is thoroughly vetted, by the firm through David, because David is a superior, right? Without having to go back and conduct the duty himself, right? Unless he has reasons to question the validity of the process, right? These words are actually from my lecture notes. If you look carefully, right, it's from my lecture notes. All right, okay. You see how I argue it? It's a very safe answer. Why? Because I mean, the facts in the case is not so clear cut. Okay, so I said blah blah blah, right? Then I say however, right? However, both David and Gordon, right, owe a duty of to the clients, right? To act with diligence and reasonable basis, right? To act with diligence and reasonable basis, right? I'm quoting the case again, right? In investigating, right? In investigating, he must do the investigation, right? In investigation, did they do any investigation? We're not sure, right? So again, right? So it is also not necessarily improper, right, for Gordon to rely on sponsor created marketing material to provide to clients, right? It is also not necessarily improper. You see how safe my words are, right? As long as Gordon, right, or other officers, right, compliance officer or other personnel at Sunset have thoroughly reviewed the material, right? As long as somebody has reviewed the material to ensure that it meets all applicable disclosure requirements and contains no misrepresentation, right? You see how safe my words are, right? Again, right, I use words like if Gordon simply forwards the material to clients without such review, then he could be violating his duty of diligence, right? If he didn't do this, then, right? If he didn't do something, then he could be, right? He could be violating his duty of diligence to clients by disseminating, right, potentially inaccurate or potentially misleading, okay, to clients, right? So I hope you can see the flow of my arguments to the case. I started here, right? So I straight away I commented on the facts of the right. So for instance, right, like Lo Hui Shen, right? Going back to you, Lo Hui Shen, right? So you see here, basically you're just stating the facts of the case without any input, right? Now here, this is better, right? So this part is okay, right? This part is okay. But here you're sort of wasting your time. But here there's not much substance. All right. So probably you just pass, 50 to 60 marks, 50 to 60%. Right. So Agnes Yeo, right? So this part here, you have to seriously rewrite. Now, when you rewrite, right, you know what I've been talking about. So you rewrite without looking at my video. You know in your head what I've talked about, right? So try to incorporate my points and the way I argue it, right, into your rewritten answer. All right. Right. So now I will welcome. I will talk about case two. Right. Case two. 5B, right? So 5B is about communications with clients and prospective clients, right? So this requires us to disclose to the investors, right, the basic format of the investment process, right? And also promptly disclose any changes, right, that might materially affect these processes, right? So Daniela, right, MD at a global credit rating service, right? So she leads and is responsible for the actions of the group that assigns new issue and surveillance credit ratings to commercial mortgage-backed securities. To determine the ratings, right, Daniela and the group calculate the debt service ratio of each security, right? This is a key quantitative metric, right, to rate these securities, right? So shortly after the crisis, the rating agency changed the methodology. All right, this is the key part for calculating this DSCR. So Dana's group published these future credit ratings, right, without disclosing the change. This is a key part. Okay, using the new methodology, right? Now, okay, receive high credit ratings, than the old methodology, right? So this is the key issue here. Right. So now the first key part, right? As a global credit rating service, right? What must be consistent, right? Global rating agencies must have consistency and transparency. Otherwise, investors wouldn't use, right? Okay, so now here they are not consistent here, right? They just change it like that. So that means their ratings may not be reliable or comparable. All right. Okay, this is one key point. Okay, now Daniela, right, should have disclose this change. Now, without disclosing, right? She should have disclosed. This is one key point you must answer, right? And now this is a key matrix. This is a key matrix. Now, if you change the methodology, everything change. Okay, so these are the key points, which you don't just simply mention from the passage. You must comment on the facts of the case. Right. So now, to be fair, I will ask Chai Ming Kang. Chai Ming Kang, you want your answer to be reviewed? Chai Ming Kang, you hear me? If no response, I will skip. Li Zijian, you want your answer to be reviewed? Hello? Right, Li Zijian. Right, don't answer like this, please. Not in point form like this, Please don't use point form. Understood? Hello, Li Zijian? Right, you're not even quoting the standard properly. Right, you're not even quoting this properly. Right, this is what you're just stating the case. Nothing near, nothing, there's nothing. Right, now crediting, who changed? Are you sure crediting all? Now who? Which crediting agency? Ado. Hello? Which one? Then why you use although? Right, your sentence is hanging, although group publish without closing the range. And then this is hanging. Your sentence is hanging. This sentence is hanging in the air. Right, this part has some points, right? Only this part. Customer has the right to know the entire process. Yeah, okay, good. After the disclosure, what do you mean by after the disclosure? There's no disclosure. Your answer like that, you will fail. This is a very bad answer. Now, who else wants the answer to be reviewed? Fu Gawai, you want your answer to be reviewed? I will review one more answer. Hello, Fu Gawai. Right, okay. Right, this part is good. All right. That Okay. All right. Okay, good. Yeah, you got the points, but quite clumsy if not. All right, you will pass. This one you probably get 60%. Not bad. All right, but still a bit lacking. In You still need to improve on how you write. Right. Right. So here, right, you see, I quote the standard, right? Okay, now this is the key part of the standard that we should focus on, right? Promptly disclose any changes, right, that might materially affect those processes, right? Okay, now Daniela, right, she hates global agency, right? Okay, now here I'm emphasizing the fact that as a rating agency, right, your consistency and transparency are important, right? So this is one key part you must highlight. All right, so without consistent application of rating methodologies, right, ratings may not be readily comparable, right? Because rating agency, you need to compare the ratings. All right, investors need to compare the ratings, right? So similarly, without transparency, right? So you must have consistency. And then the other is transparency, right? So without transparency, investors can neither assess the methodology, right? Assessment, because they need to judge whether the methodology used by your credit rating agency, right, or the application of your methodology, right, so they can assess, right? If they're able to assess, right, they can give weight to your rating. All right, they can determine how good your rating are, right? So now I've established the basis for my conclusion. So I conclude in this paragraph, I conclude, right? So on this basis, right? So blah 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 blah. On this basis, Daniela should have disclosed to investors, right? Should have disclosed, right? Should. This is a very important word here, right? The change in methodology for calculating the DSCR, because this is a key metric. Right now, from here, I flow back, so I emphasize on the key metric, right? So this is a key quantitative metric, right? Use the rate securities because the change in methodology, right, materially affected the credit ratings by moving them higher than the original method. You see how I write? Okay, now whether the new methodology more accurately reflects risk is immaterial. All right, so this is the other side point. All right, as far as investors, as far as standard 5C is concerned, right, because the change still must be communicated to investors, right? So notwithstanding whether it reflects more risk or not, right, it still must be communicated to investors. Right, so there's some elements that Daniela used some diligence and reasonable basis, right, for the change. She may have some, done something. Obviously, she has a basis, but this is about communication, communication with clients. So, right, so we are just talking about 5B, right? So in this case, she has violated, right? Simply because she did not communicate the change. So here, this part here, right? Promptly disclose any changes. This key part. She did not promptly disclose any changes that might materially affect those processes. Are you with me? We have 20 seconds to go. So I think we will start another video. on case 3.